The Canon R5C is arguably one of the best hybrid cameras, if not the best hybrid camera on the market. With its cinema level videography features such as 8K up to 30 frames per second internally, 10-bit 422 in C-Log3, and if you just switch over to photo mode, you get one of the best photography cameras in the world at the minute with its 45 megapixel sensor up to 20 frames per second. It's one of the best cameras money can buy at around £4,500. With it being full frame as well, it seems like the perfect camera to so many photographers and videographers out there. However, it has one major issue that just can't be overlooked, and I'm here today to actually tell you how you can fix it. So if you don't know already, the Canon R5C has a really bad battery life issue that's actually really putting off a lot of videographers out there, and the reason for this is because it's the same as the Canon R5. However, obviously it's got its cinema level features, it's got the cinema menus, it's got waveforms, it's got loads of different new codecs as well, and obviously the better codecs you use, the more actual power you're going to be using. And it's also got a built-in fan, and this is because the R5 was so bad with overheating. So if you're shooting at like 8K 30 frames per second in one of the big codecs, you're going to be using a lot of processing power. So this is where this fan comes in, and this fan will probably kick in quite a lot to actually try and cool down this camera, and that is why the battery life in this camera is so bad, because it uses the exact same batteries as the Canon R6 Mark II, the Canon R5, which is the LPE6 batteries. So there's no bigger batteries in it like the Canon C70, like the C300 Mark III, or like the Canon R3. It's the same batteries as the R5, which can be seen as a good way because I bet loads of people out there have loads of these batteries. However, for video especially, this battery life in this camera is awful. For photos, I think it's perfectly fine, just like the Canon R5. You're going to get hours out of it for photography, but for video, that's where the problems start to lie. And I gotta admit, at work, we probably have about 16 of these batteries to try and get us through, because there's two R5C's and we aim to try and have like 8 batteries per shoot. Sometimes we actually take more, and sometimes we're a little bit worried that it's actually not enough batteries to actually last us for the whole shoot. Because if you're doing an interview, for example, the person who you're interviewing is not the best, it probably takes maybe sometimes up to an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes. And as soon as you turn this camera on, when the settings are 10-bit 422 YCC, C-Log3, 4K, 50 frames per second, the battery, as soon as you turn it on, is about 45 minutes. 45 minutes is awful for video, because especially for an interview, like I said, if the person's not very good, you might go over 45 minutes of battery, then you have to change the battery. Depending on what tripod you're using, you actually might have to like either take it off the tripod, and it all gets into loads of different problems. When you have it on a gimbal when you're shooting B-roll, obviously 40 minutes is not that long either. So even if you're static, like, it takes up so much battery unless you press the media button, which is a little bit of a hack for you. Constantly having to like change batteries on the gimbal all the time, and you have to put it down, lock it. If you have the RS3 Pro, it's not that big of an issue, but constantly changing batteries all the time is just not very good with this camera, and it is a big flaw, and it's so annoying to constantly change batteries all the time. However, there is a fix, and there is probably quite a really good fix as well that can actually solve your problems. However, it might cost you a little bit of money. So bear that in mind. If you do want to buy a Canon R5C, you may have to put aside a couple hundred, probably more pounds, to actually be able to solve the battery life issue. Now, the fix is literally this little thing right here, and also this beastly V-Log battery. So basically what you have to do, you have to get this small rig V-Log battery mount, I think it's called. I will leave the link in the description below for this, because this is a lifesaver. And you also need a camera cage. So the Canon R5C has a camera cage, and if you get a good one from like small rig, it's probably going to cost you around £70, maybe even like 100, it depends. And basically what you do, you just screw this on the top where your hot shoe goes into these two railings. You grab your V-Log battery, you slide it on, clicks in place, it's not moving anywhere, and then you get a USB-C cable, and you literally just plug it straight into the USB-C port on the side of the camera, and you give the power that way through to the camera, and you actually get hours of battery life of one of these V-Log batteries. This battery is called the FX Lion Nano 1, and you can actually find it online for about £150. There is a Nano 2 as well, which is about £280, but this is the Nano 1, and you can get it literally about £150. So if you pick up 2 of these, it's near enough. I gotta admit, the Canon R5C batteries is around £100 for one anyway. So if this is about £150, if you can pick up like 2 or 3 of these, yes, it adds a little bit more weight to the camera. You can put it on a gimbal, it's absolutely fine, but it does obviously weigh a little bit more, but you get so much more battery life out of your Canon R5C. And if you also didn't know, if you didn't want it just to be able to get longer battery life, it's not just for that as well, because if you actually power one of these cameras with this battery, it actually unlocks the power of shooting in 8K 50 frames per second, all internally as well. So you can shoot 8K up to 30 frames per second with this camera internally with just normal batteries. You're probably going to get about 15 minutes of record time though. But if you do actually set up one of these V-Lock batteries to your Canon R5C, you can actually shoot in 8K 50 frames per second as well. So not only it gives you more battery life, it also gives you another resolution frame rate mode as well. And considering these are actually not that much more expensive than these actual Canon R5C batteries, I think you're much better off buying one of these than a few of these R5C batteries. I know if you've got second cameras like an R6 Mark II or an R5, it is a little bit annoying to not share the batteries because you might have loads already. It doesn't mean you can't use these. These batteries are perfect for photography, and I've got to admit, we still use these loads for videography as well. You just have to change your batteries. It's not the biggest deal in the world having to change your batteries. If you've got the time, just quickly swap one over. But if you really don't want to constantly swap batteries all the time, one of these V-Lock batteries with this adapter, with this camera cage, is going to really help you out. Yes, it's going to obviously cost a little bit more money. Like if you get 2 of these, it's about £300. Cage, £70, let's say. And then if you get this wire as well and that, it's probably going to be like £400 for 2 of these batteries and the whole setup, which really, if you think about it, that's probably about 4 of the LPE6 batteries that you actually get for the Canon R5C anyway. So it's up to you which one you actually prefer. And even though this camera doesn't have internal NDs, it doesn't have XLR ports, it has a micro HDMI cable, it's still a very worthy, amazing cinema camera, and it would be great if it's shot in C-Log 2. It's only in C-Log 3, but it still makes it an amazing cinema camera. Full frame beast, 8K up to 50 frames per second, 4K 100 frames per second. You can shoot some amazing video out of it, out of this camera, and you're really not going to regret your choice. So if you do pick one of this up as well, it's actually going to fix its biggest issue, which is the battery life. For photos, you don't have to worry about it, but I really do recommend you buy an R5C. I would love one. This is not actually mine. I would absolutely love to have one of these cameras, and if I did, I'd probably try and get through the battery life, but because I know already how annoying it actually is, I would probably actually end up buying one of these V-Lock batteries. So if you do want to buy these camera cages, these external adapters, and the actual small rig adapter to be able to put the V-Lock battery onto your R5C, I will leave all of the links to them in the description below. And if you did actually enjoy this video, why not hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, because I love Canon, I love camera gear, and I love reviews. So if you do like that content, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around so you don't miss any future videos like this in the future. The Canon R5C is an unbelievable camera, and I will leave the link in the description below for this camera as well for you to go purchase if you want, and I do highly recommend it as well because it is such a good camera. And if you did enjoy this video right here, you may actually like this video up here where I actually do a comparison between the Canon R5C and the Canon R6 Mark II. So if you are interested in that video, make sure you go watch that video next, because both of these cameras are absolutely amazing at photography and videography. Is the Canon R5C worth £1,500 more than the R6 Mark II? Maybe not to you, but it actually might be. So make sure you go and watch this video next.